Hi everyone, my name is Shashank and I'm preparing for CAT 2025. So this particular RC I have taken it from CAT 2023 slot 1 and this is critical reasoning based RC and I found it really very difficult, but believe me, after watching this video I'm damn sure I will make this as easy as you can solve this RC even in your dreams. So let us begin. And this is a fairly tough and I would say hardest RC ever because it has difficult words. Like for example, it has um, very much difficult words which we will see while I will go through the RC and I'll show it to you. So let us begin. So the passage below is accompanied by 4 questions based on which you have to choose the best answer for each question. So 50 years after its publication, now whose publication we don't know, maybe some book because books are published. 50 years after its publication in English in 1972, and just a year since Marshall Sahlins himself died. So we are saying that just after 50 years, this person died, and his book's publication was done in 50 years behind, like 1972, and he died after 1973, 50 years after that. We may ask, author is saying we should ask why his essay name is Original Affluent Society. Now, why his essay has such an impact and how has it fared since? So, author is asking like does his essay really uh, has impact now also, or the first thing is like why his essay was so much impactful, and author is also asking like was it like before, or the essay's impact is still there in the modern era. So that's what the author is asking. So this is our author's name, Salin. So Salin's principal argument was very simple. Now author is describing what Salin might have mentioned in his essay. So we are now started discussing about the essay itself. So author is saying Salin's principal argument was simple but counterintuitive. So what is counterintuitive? It means like it is something non-commonsensical view. Like it is not very easy to guess. It is literally you have to think about it. So it was simple, but you have to think about it. So before being driven into marginal environments by colonial powers. Now what is being driven? We don't know. Hunter gatherers. So author is talking about before hunter gatherers were being driven into marginal environmental environments by colonial powers. So there were some colonial powers, they might have like moved these people, hunter gatherers or foragers, into marginal environments where you have less money or etc. You are just barely surviving. Were not engaged in a desperate struggle for meager survival. So what is author saying? Like as per Sahlin's essay, these foragers, now the foragers, they are the key to this passage because we will be talking about these people only. So author is saying like these foragers, they were not engaged in desperate struggle for meager survival. This means like they are not like okay, we don't have job, we don't earn money, so how we are gonna survive. They're not thinking about that. So they were not very desperate. Like, for example, if you will not earn, then how will you buy bread and how will you eat food? Because everyone, we need food for survival, right? So author is saying like foragers were not at all bothered about like survival. They were not like they were bothered, but they were not as desperate as like we would have been if we were in their shoes. So they were not desperate about the meager survival. Quite the contrary. Like on the other hand, rather than being like desperate for survival, what they were doing like they satisfied their needs with far less work. So they worked less. Now when we are talking about less, we are putting into comparison like working less in context of what. So they used to work less than the people in agricultural or industrial societies. So they were industrial societies and agricultural people. Those people used to work a lot. But on the other hand, these foragers or hunter gatherers, they were merely chilling, man. They were not working at all. They were working very less and leaving them more time to use as they wished. And they have more time to like either play with their kids or maybe cook some good food, or maybe read something, or maybe go and watch movies, which I'm just joking. They were not gonna watch movies, but I'm just saying they can utilize their free time as like how they wanted to do. Now these hunters, these foragers, he equipped keep bankers hours. Now what does this mean? So he means this Salon. So Salon was saying, like, as a joke, as a metaphor, like they were like even the bankers, like now these SBI banking people, I should not name these people, but as you all know, they don't work very often, right? So author is saying like these foragers, they were even working less than the bankers, or maybe the bankers are working even more than these foragers. So they were working as less as possible. So it's just kind of a metaphor which author has used. So hunters, he quipped, keep bankers hours, refusing to maximize. So what is the meaning of maximize? For example, like we are preparing for CAT, we are preparing for IITs, and we want to maximize our time. Like we will do LIDI sets, we will do quant, we have to do VIRC. So we are planning our day. We want to maximize the efforts that we are spending each day, right? But these foragers, they are not at all bothered. They are refusing to maximize, and many of these foragers, they were only concerned with games of chance than the chances of the game. That means whatever may come their way, like destiny or randomness, they tend to believe over that on that. Like we will follow randomness. We don't worry about like what we are gonna do tomorrow. We don't care about that. So they were more concerned with games of chances than with chances of game. So this is kind of like a beautiful way to write, like they were more concerned on randomness rather than working to maximize their productivity. So author has also written that the so-called Neolithic revolution, rather than improving life, imposed a harsher work regime and set in motion the long history of growing inequality. So this line is not that much important, but it is very important to say that. So this Neolithic revolution, rather than it was like it should. So what is revolution? It is a change. It should be good, right? So this Neolithic revolution which happened, we don't need to go about in details what is Neolithic revolution, but the key idea is this Neolithic revolution, rather than improving the life of these foragers or maybe the industrialist or anyone, it like was imposing a harsher work regime and set in motion the long history of growing inequality. So inequality was growing after like this Neolithic revolution was in practice. Now, I think the first para is clear. Author is talking about foragers and like two things author told us, like they they had very less needs. For example, Bajirao Singham, his needs are very less. That's why his Zamir has that dam wala dialogue, right? You know, like meri zarooratein hai kam. That's why mere Zamir mein hai dam. kind of that. So author is talking about these hunter gatherers. They like tended to work very less and enjoyed their free time. They had more time to do whatever they want to do. So that is the key idea in the passage 1, which the author is talking about. Moreover, the foragers had other options. The contemporary Hasda of Tanzania. Now author is giving example. Now these foragers had other options to pursue. We don't know the options yet, but author said like more options as in comparison to like either working or spending their time like free time. So author said these foragers had other options also, like they might go to movies, they might go to school, they might engage them in some hard work, but no, the contemporary Hasda of Tanzania, who had long been surrounded by farmers. So this place, Hadza of Tanzania, now this place had long been surrounded by farmers, knew they had alternatives, they had different ways, but all of them they rejected these. They did not want to pursue those ways. They just want to sit idle at home. They just don't want to do anything, and they had very very less work. So author is like continuously stressing on the fact that these foragers, these hunter gatherers, these farmers, they wanted to spend their time with family or maybe whatever they want to do with their free time, but they don't want to work more. They just want to work less. So that's what the author is saying, like they had alternatives, but they rejected those alternatives. So to Salins, who has written this essay, what was the essay's name? The essay's name was Original Affluent Society 1972. So this particular essay, so Salins, to Salins, this particular incident, whatever we have mentioned till now, incident of spending time however you want to do, and working very less. This particular incident, it showed that these foragers are not simply examples of human diversity or victimhood. Like, this is not like this is a different breed of people, different breed of human society, which tend to work very less and spend their free time in like doing whatever they want to do. It's not like that. It's not a diversified society, human society. Neither it's a diversified human society, nor they are victim of something. Like, something happened, maybe you might have thought about, like, after colonial powers, these hunter gatherers were like behaving like this. It's not like that. They are not victim of these colonial powers. Author is clearly mentioning these two are not the cases. But something more profound, something more intense is happening over here. So, what is happening? Now, they demonstrated that societies make real choices. It's the choice. Like, वो बोलते हैं ना, it's her choice. So that's why, like, it's their choice. They want to do that. They want to spend their free time. They want to. They don't want to do anything. They like in which hard work is there. So they want to do very less work. They want to spend free time as how they want to spend. It's up to them. So it's their particular choice. It's the forager society's choice. So societies make real choice. This is the key idea. This is the main idea of this passage. And culture, a way of living oriented around a distinctive set of values, manifests a fundamental principle of collective self-determination. Now, this I don't really understand what does this mean, but I don't think it is very much important. Let us move forward. But the point of the essay, now this essay's point, is not so much empirical validity of the data. Whether we have the data, like, are these how many foragers were behaving like that, how many foragers had free time, how many foragers like used to work less. So the point of the essay is not so much the empirical validity of the data. We are not sitting and validating whether, like, it is matching or not. The real interest for most readers who are reading this essay, which Salins wrote. Salins has written this original Affluent Society in 1972. So the readers of this essay, they are not interested in validity of this data which we have talked about. The real interest for most of the readers, after all, is not in foragers. Now, like, suppose I am the reader, I'm not interested like who are these foragers, or about the, I don't want to know about the foragers, or like whether today these foragers, if they exist today, or they were in the Paleolithic, that means ancient times. Now the readers are not at all interested in foragers, either like today foragers or Paleolithic foragers. We are not interested. But rather, it's conceptual challenge to contemporary economic life and bourgeois individualism. So what does this mean? Let us try to understand this. So as a reader, now after I have written, oh, these foragers, they are like working very less and like spending their time as much as they want to do. Kitni cool life hai na yaar. So as a reader, I'm more interested, how did they manage to like survive? How did they manage to earn a bread? Like, it is clearly mentioned over there, conceptual challenge to contemporary economic life. Like, economic life means money, means like if you don't work, how will you earn money? If you don't earn money, how will you get food? How will you let your make your children eat the food which you have bought from the money? So as a reader, I'm more interested in that. And bourgeois individualism means, bourgeois, I also did not knew. I also did not know. I just googled it. It means middle class. So as a reader, I am more interested in knowing like how did they survive economically, how did they earn money, and how was their middle class individualistic life, like how are they living, because they are not Ambani, okay, like children, they are not Ambani, right? Even if Ambanis don't work today, they are not gonna die, right? Because they have accumulated a lot of wealth. So that's why bourgeois individualism, it means like how you are a middle class person, how being a middle class person without earning money, you are working very less and spending your free time how you want to spend. It's kind of like financial independence, right? Everyone wants to be in that place. So as a reader, I'm more interested in that. So this is the main key. That's why I've stressed a lot on this. The empirical served a philosophical and political project, a thought experiment, and stimulus to the imagination of possibilities. So this particular empirical served like we may sit and think like there may be many possibilities like how they are surviving. So that's the key here. So with its titles nod, what is it? Let us see. With its titles nod towards the Affluent Society 1958. Wait a minute. Affluent Society 1958, the original Affluent Society 1970. Oh, these are two different things. So with its title nod, so something is nodding towards something else. Suppose this is my A, and A is nodding towards B. So I am supposing it is this original Affluent Society. Yeah. With original Affluent Society, A is nod towards B. Economist John Kenneth Galbraith. This person, let us call him with John. So with original Affluent Society is nods towards Affluent Society. This person's famously skeptical portrait. Skeptical is an adjective over there. Skeptical, it means like not convinced, portrait of America's post-war prosperity. Like um, America's post-war, after the war, how America is prosperous and inequality. Like it is prosperous, but it is not equal. Like someone is earning a lot of money, 80% of the money is held with 20% of the people. That is Pareto principle, and the remaining 80% people are earning like very less, right? 20% of the total wealth is being earned by the 80% of the people, or you can say 20% of the richest people earn the 80% of the total wealth of America. So there is definitely an element of inequality. So with so author is saying like this particular essay's inclination was towards Affluent Society, and and towards which part specifically? Towards the part where this particular book, The Affluent Society, which was written by the economist John Kenneth, it was somehow portraying uh, America into a not convincing light of like how prosperity and inequality were kept together, and dripping with new left contempt for consumerism. I'm not very sure what does this mean, but I think it is related to something kind of a consumerism. So this book's nod was towards the prosperity and inequality, towards this consumerism. So this is completely different thing. In the first three paragraphs, we were talking about these hunter gatherers, foragers, and all of a sudden we are talking about this particular book's nod towards some other book which was mentioning a key idea onto like how America's post-war prosperity and inequality is being considered, and dripping with something called as new left contempt for consumerism. So let us ignore this fact. I think it's not that important. The original Affluent Society, this particular book, brought this critical perspective. Now this is the key. Brought this even if you did not understand this, brought this critical perspective to bear on the contemporary world. So there is a critical perspective, like how will you bear on the contemporary world? It did so through the classic anthropological it is this book. So this book did so through the classical anthropological move of showing that radical alternatives to the reader's life really exist. This means like radical choices. So we are talking about the choices. This is the key here. So we said like they had choices, but they did not want to explore. They had alternatives, they rejected them. So this book's nod toward this particular thing is clearly depicting that there definitely are some radical alternatives to the reader's life, which definitely do exist if the capitalist world seek wealth through ever greater material production to meet infinitely expensive desires. So if the capitalist world, if some country or some place which has a lot of money seeks the money through ever greater material production, this means if you are producing a lot to meet infinitely expensive desires. For example, you have a lot of money, you can buy anything you want to buy. Now, the foraging societies, these foragers follow the Zen road to affluence. affluence, I don't know, let us see what is affluence. It is a state of having a great deal of money. That means you're rich. So it means like foraging societies follow the Zen road to affluence. So what is the Zen road? Let us see what is Zen road. Not by getting more. So foragers are saying no, 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 no. We don't want money to be rich. We for us, like, money does not make us rich. Money does not make us affluent. बट बाय वॉन्टिंग लेस. अगेन सिंघम वाली बात आ गई. मेरी ज़रूरतें हैं कम, इसीलिए मेरे ज़मीर में है दम. सो ऐसा कुछ बोला था ना उसने. सो you can relate these foragers as Bajirao Singham. Definitely, you will remember this. Their like way of living, their key idea of what affluence is definitely not money. That's clearly being signified over there. If it seems that foragers have been left behind by progress, if you feel, if as a reader, author is saying, if you are feeling that these foragers have been left behind by the progress. For example, take example of Nokia. It did not evolve, so it did lose, right? So you can take an example of Nokia as these foragers. If you think like foragers are like Nokia, which have been left behind by progress, you are only thinking this due to ethnocentric self-congratulation of the West. Self-congratulation of the West, I think this means like ethnocentric means okay, you have some cultural identities and you are evaluating someone else's culture based on what is written in your culture. So if you are thinking like foragers have been left behind, it is only because you are comparing their culture with your own culture and you are thinking they have been left behind. So suppose if I am seeing Ambani today and if I am thinking like, okay, Ambani is rich, or maybe suppose I am Ambani and I am thinking, okay, Shashank is poor, he does not have that much money as I have. If being Ambani I'm thinking like that, it is only because of having the cultural difference. Maybe to Shashank money is not that much important. Maybe to Shashank success is not about job or getting into IIT or getting into IIM. Maybe Shashank is a different person. As per his culture, success or progress is something else. And what it is, I think you are definitely sure about that. It is definitely, I'm thinking it is working less and doing whatever they want to do with their time. So rather than accumulate material goods, rather than like storing gold, money, though these societies are guided by other values. And what are these values? Leisure, free time, mobility. They can move, like they can be wanderlust. They can move wherever they want to do. And above all, freedom. Freedom is very important. Freedom is core to them. So what is the key idea here? The author is saying like maybe to foragers, their value system is different. So that is why it brought this particular passage which talks about to foragers money was not that important. They if you think like they have been left behind, it is only because of the cultural differences. To foragers, leisure, mobility and freedom are core. They are very important to them. So now let us talk about viewed in today's context. So in the first paragraph it is mentioned that we may ask why his essay has such an impact and how has it fared since. So author is answering his question in the first passage, how has it fared since, in the last passage, last paragraph. Viewed in today's context, of course, not every aspect of the essay has aged well. That means not every aspect is prevalent. Aged well means, for example, some aspect is there and that aspect has died long before. That means it does not exist. It has changed. So author is saying like not every aspect is living till now. That means few are there which still hold, but most of them have died. While acknowledging the violence of colonialism, racism and dispossession. So author is acknowledging that the violence of colonialism, racism and all these bad things, it does not thematize them as heavily as we might today. So these if you view in today's context, whatever that essay has mentioned, that essay has not thematized colonialism as bad. Maybe they were neutral about racism or colonialism, but we as a society today, author is saying, we we think we keep colonialism and racism and dispossession as a bad thing. So author is saying like they have not kept them as bad. It doesn't mean they have kept them as good. It means either they have kept as neutral or they might have kept as good. So, but clearly you can infer the following, that author is saying like those people have not valued colonialism, racism and disproportion as bad as we do today. It does not thematize them heavily as we might do today, rebuking evolutionary anthropologists for treating present day foragers as left behind by the progress. So, author is rebuking evolutionary anthropologists for treating the present day foragers as left behind by its progress. Okay. It too can succumb to the temptation to use them as proxies for the Paleolithic. Okay. Yet, these characteristics should not distract. So, whatever it is written, it does not matter. The main key idea is over there. So, whatever these characteristics which these anthropologists are giving to these foragers or hunters, these characteristics should not distract us from appreciating Silence effort to show that if we want to conjure new possibilities, we need to learn about actually inhabitable worlds. So, what does the author mean over here? That author is appreciating Silence effort to show that if we want to conjure new possibilities, we need to learn about actually inhabitable worlds. So, we need to do some research on uh, inhabitable worlds. For us, we think like we need money, we need power, we need society, we need all those things. But have we ourselves spent a night in the forest having nothing with in our hand? Can we imagine a place where like we don't have anything, we have just we are just surviving? Maybe to us leisure is everything. No, we as a society we did not explore that fact only because we people have made societies to get a freedoms to get a sense of security, because anything can happen, right? So I think the passage is very clear. I've tried my level best to explain to you. Now I will answer the questions which have been put in the passage. So these are the four questions. We can infer that Salen's main goal in writing his essay was put forth the view that despite egalitarian origins, economic progress brings greater inequality. Economic progress bringing inequality and social hierarchies? No. Highlight the fact that while we started off as a fairly contented egalitarian people, we have progressively degenerated into materialism. Um, Hold a mirror. So what the first option is saying, like first option is saying that the main goal is uh, putting forward a view that despite their egalitarian origins, the progress brings inequality. Progress never brought inequality, right? You can even read the passage, it is distorted. Highlight the fact that while we started off as a fairly contented egalitarian people, so we started as egalitarian, we have progressively degenerated into materialism. So nothing is mentioned that human beings today are totally materialistic. This is not the main idea. Hold a mirror to an acquisitive society with examples of other communities that have chosen successfully to be non-materialistic. I think this is the correct answer. Why? Because author is in the last line, author is talking that appreciate silence effort to show that if we want to conjure new possibilities, we need to learn about actually inhabitable worlds. So author is saying like author is holding a mirror in front of us at the end to an acquisitive society. A society, what is acquisitive? Excessively interested in acquiring money. Hold a mirror to the society which we are living with examples of other communities, foragers, that have chosen successfully to be non-materialistic. So this is the perfect, right? You don't even need to read option D, but I will read. Counter Galbraith's pessimistic view on the inavailability of the capitalistic trajectory for the economic growth. No, I think this does not make sense. Only this is the main idea which author is capturing. So this is correct. The author of the passage mentions Galbraith Affluent Society. This is in this paragraph with its title not towards this. John famously skeptical portrait. Skeptical means not convinced of America's prosperity. So the author was not convinced at all with this particular A is not towards B. So author in this passage mentions Galbraith Affluent Society to show how his theories refute Salon's thesis on the contentment of pre-hunters gatherers communities, contrast the materialistic nature of contemporary growth paths uh, with the pacifist content ways of living among the foragers. I think this one because it is contrasting the fact that how foragers were living in the forests, having less needs. It is clearly mentioned over there, right? If it seems like the foragers have been left behind by progress, this is only due to the anthrocentric self-congregation of the West. Rather than accumulating material goods, these societies are guided by other values: leisure, mobility, and above all, freedom. This is the core idea. The author is placing the Gabriel's Affluent Society as a contrast to contrast the materialistic nature of contemporary growth paths. Okay, document the influence of Galbraith's cynical views on modern consumerism. No, consumerism not the main idea. The main idea of the third passage or the passage regarding to the affluent society was only to put into contrast the pacifist content's way of living among the foragers, how they are living for them, like the Nokia example I gave to you. Show how Salon's views complemented. So Salon's view has never complemented; they have contrasted. So this is also distorted. So the author mentions Tanzania's Hasda's community. So where it is mentioned, Tanzania's Hasda's community. So the contemporary Hasda of Tanzania, here it is mentioned. Why author has mentioned these? Because author want to show you that Salin has showed that foragers are not simply example of, so they are neither the human diversity or victimhood. They had a choice. वो नेहा वाला dialogue था ना, नेहा धूपिया का कि it's her choice. That hunter-gatherers communities subsistence level techniques equipped them to survive into contemporary times. How pre-egalitarian societies does not hamper the emergence of more advanced egalitarian practices in continuous communities. The foragers communities' lifestyle derived not from ignorance about alternative but from their own choice. Yup, 100%. How two vastly different ways of living and working were able to coexist in proximity for centuries. Nope. The author of the passage criticizes Salon's essay. So author is criticizing in the last, it is criticizing and rebuking evolutionary anthropologists for treating present day foragers left behind, and also author is criticizing as them violence of colonialism, racism, and dispossession. It does not thematize them as heavily as we do today. Cursory treatment of the effects of racism and colonialism in society. Outdated values regarding present day foragers versus ancient foraging communities, critique of anthropologists who disparage the choices of foragers in today's society, failure to supplement its thesis with robust empirical data, no. Outdated values regarding present day foragers versus, no. Critique of anthropologist, author is criticizing the anthropologist. Let's see. So Salon's essay, why author has criticized? Because he is against this colonialism and racism, but in his essay, they were not thematizing as heavily as we might do today. So the correct answer is cursory treatment of the effects of racism and colonialism on societies. So I hope like how I eliminated the options in front of you and how I explained this passage to you beautifully. So if you like this video, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe my YouTube channel. Thank you so much.